Hello folks, and welcome back to another episode of Photography Mayhem. I've taken you to church today, and I thought what we might do today is we'll talk about how to shoot lightning. Not daytime lightning, but after dark lightning, which is my favorite. Daytime lightning is hard if you don't have a lightning trigger like me, but lightning after dark, a lot easier. Anyway, we'll go down there to where my D800 is, and we'll start talking about stuff and things and such, if I don't slip on the way down there first. Okay, lightning after dark you can do on just about any camera made in the last 10 years or so, maybe even older than that. Actually, yes, a lot older than that. Reason being, photographing lightning after dark is like taking a picture with a flash. So you don't need anything too terribly special to do the job. Just something sort of like a DSLR, but you can also use several prosumer models that let you get into the manual settings and set things up properly the way you like them. So the first thing we're going to need to do is make sure everything's in manual mode, and I'm in aperture priority, so that's wrong. Here we go, manual. I'm going to set a 30-second exposure just for demonstration purposes, but I have gone as long as a minute to 2 minutes for exposures to get lightning, which can be a little tricky on a camera that doesn't have exposure settings like that, but that's why we have bulb mode, which you saw right there. That lets you hold the shutter open as long as you want, as long as you have a release cable. And on this camera, I don't have that. What I have instead is an SMDV remote trigger. I've got it on a lanyard around my neck here. I'll just show it to you. That there is the remote. It's wireless RF, so it works at pretty long distances. It's real nice. Anyway, as you can see, my lens is set in manual focus mode right there. This is my 20mm Nikkor 1.8. So what we're going to do is just go back in here, if you can see that. And I'm going to go all the way to f1.8, all the way open. We're not going to shoot lightning at that setting, of course, because every setting you get with lightning at f1.8 will most likely be blown out. So now we're going to go into live view. On this camera, you just press that button there, and I've already gotten in there, you see. Now, we zoom in on something distant. As you can see, that is very out of focus. I hope you can see that anyway. Now we manually set our focus. Perfect. Now we leave live view. Now, my settings for lightning are almost always at f8, sometimes f11, but usually f8, like so. Today I'm going to try doing 30-second exposures. If I have to go longer, I will. Oh, let's see here. What other settings should I tell you about? Yes, I always shoot RAW with this camera. That means data straight out of the sensor into a file. No in-camera processing at all, or very minimal. On a Nikon camera, that gives you an NEF file, which you can then use to plug into Lightroom to process any way you want. Okay, so ISO settings. That's fairly important. Usually for lightning, if I can do this one-handed, is I set for ISO 400. Sometimes I'll go to 200 if the lightning's really close, and if the lightning's right on top of me, I'll go ISO 200 with my aperture at f11. Now, aperture on lightning bolts. This can be a little bit tricky. With distant storms, sometimes you can get away with going to f5.6 or f4 or even lower than that. But I find that it's really, really easy to blow out my lightning bolts that way and ruin the shot. You kind of get what looks like a lightning tornado. And right about here, I'll stop talking for a second and I'm going to show you a picture. Yeah, as you can see there, no visible lightning bolt, just a big wedge of light. It's kind of not what I want most of the time. So usually when I do any shooting for lightning, I stay at ISO 400 and f8. And then I just vary my exposure settings as long as I need to. Or vary my ISO settings as high as I need to. That's not the way a lot of people do it, but that's the way I do it, so I'm going to keep doing it that way. Anyhow, I hope that helps. With that out of the way, let's go have a look at this church. I have been trying to get to this church for ages. You have no idea. The first time I tried, see that car right there? That 04 Pacifica? I had just gotten it, and the first time I tried to come out here, it popped a tire on the back roads between my house and the highway, and then it blew another tire just as I was getting onto the highway. I had a real bad night that night, let me tell you. And I gotta say, if you ever have the hankering to buy yourself a Chrysler Pacifica, maybe you want to think twice about that one. This has got to be one of the most picturesque churches I've seen in a while. Now let's see how good the low light performance of this camera is. I'm already at ISO 12800, so let me fix the aperture here. Okay, that's better. You might be able to see now. And look at that. Sad to see a church in this condition, honestly. Me being a preacher's kid. She is definitely done for, I'm afraid. What I might do later is if I can wait till it gets dark enough for lightning, I will probably put a little light inside here, inside the entrance here, maybe an orange one. Then I'll light the outside of the building with a flashlight, and we'll get some really dramatic shots that way. At least that's the hope. We do have a storm kind of trying to get together over there. I'm not sure it's doing too well right now. But that's okay, because the roads are absolutely awful today. And I'd like to be able to go home. I believe this church last had services sometime in the 60s or 70s. I'll have to double check that at home. I think the mosquitoes found me. Little outhouse over there. Anybody need to use the head? I think I'll pass, honestly. Give you a look from this side of the church too. Oh, skeeters are out. And they're very hungry. So I'm gonna have to go back to the car and get some spray on. In a minute or three. Now I'm thinking what I might do is see if I can get video of lightning with the Z50 while I'm trying to get lightning with the D800 as well. If I do that, not saying I will probably try to mirror my Z50 settings with the D800. Same basic settings mostly, except I'll leave the ISO in auto. And we'll go aperture priority mode. And stick things at f8 again, as I mentioned before. Okay, I'm gonna get skeeter spray on. Well folks, I'm still out here shooting sunset. As you can see, it's quite a nice one too. But I've got some possibly good news and possibly bad news. The good news is I'm still expecting storms here. The bad news is I've checked the radar and I've checked the forecast models, and it looks like we're probably not getting any lightning until 2 o'clock in the morning, if we get it at all. So, while I'm not averse to standing out here all night if I have to, especially after driving 2 hours from home, unfortunately I can't operate 2 cameras and do the talkie-talkie thing at the same time when I'm that tired. So I'm gonna sign off for today, and I'll see you next time. Take care.